You think your home is a sanctuary. You view it as a fortified haven you have carved out of the chaotic, howling entropy of the natural world. You cling to this fragile fiction because of your sturdy walls, your heavy deadbolts, and the light switch that promises to banish the dark. You convince yourself that reality is only what you can touch or measure. But look at the encroaching night when the sun dips below the horizon. You call it the absence of light, but you are wrong. Darkness is a living, breathing presence that fills the gaps where your vision fails. You look at the suffocating silence of 3 a.m. and call it peace. But that is a lie. Silence is not an absence of sound. It is the presence of something waiting. It is the sound of the house itself, holding its breath, watching the rhythmic, vulnerable rise and fall of your chest in the dark. You aren't scared of the dark because of ghost stories. You are scared because your ancient brain knows the dark is a blind spot in your survival. The things that hunt us don't need magic or curses to find you. They just need you to be comfortable, to lower your guard, to let the monotony of your routine become your entire universe. Take the Hachishakusama, the 8-foot-tall woman. You think she is just an archaic relic, a campfire myth from a time we have supposedly outgrown. But you are a modern, logical human, aren't you? Here is the truth that will keep you awake tonight. Your logic is exactly what she is using to get closer. You think you are safe because you don't believe in monsters, but that is the final, ultimate deception. The Hachishakusama isn't coming for your body. She is coming for your certainty. She is coming to dismantle the logic you used to sleep, one rattling inhuman breath at a time. You realize with a cold jolt that the monster doesn't need to break the door down. She only needs you to be the one who doubts. Your very skepticism is the invitation she has been waiting for. You have become the architect of your own haunting. We live in a world of curated artificial safety. We build expensive systems to buffer us from the reality that we are still biological entities in a hostile environment. We have alarms and gated communities, as if a fence could stop a predator that doesn't recognize property lines or human laws. We have the blue-tinted glow of our phones to distract us from the silence, keeping our eyes glued to a screen while the real world shifts around us. We treat technology as armor, but it is actually a cage of distraction. We have traded our sharp, primitive instincts for the dull, ineffective convenience of modern connectivity. We have forgotten how to listen to the warning shifts in the wind. We have forgotten how to track the movement of a shadow in the corner of our eye, dismissing it as a trick of the light. We have convinced ourselves that the only things that can hurt us are social media metrics or financial instability. We have shrunk our world until it fits on a screen, forgetting that the real world is infinitely larger and more dangerous than your feed would have you believe. We laugh at legends to keep the fear at bay, calling them folklore to distance ourselves from the raw power of the fear they represent. Electricity doesn't destroy monsters, it only pushes them into the corners you refuse to look into. When the house settles at night, you don't think about your emails. You think about the space behind you, the space you cannot see. You feel that prickle on your neck, and you dismiss it as anxiety. But that isn't anxiety. That is your biology screaming that the map of your reality is incomplete. You have built a wall of glass between you and the wild, but the wild is staring back, waiting for you to blink. You are the soft, fragile meat inside the tin can of your own house. The modern world is just a lullaby you sing to yourself to ignore the teeth clicking in the dark. Why does the Hachishakusama legend persist so violently in the human psyche? It is not a ghost story. It is a bug in the human operating system that we cannot upgrade. It triggers a hardwired survival mechanism, a flaw in your programming that you cannot turn off with logic. We are hardwired for pattern recognition. We survive by knowing what is us and what is other. But when you see something that looks almost human, the right height, the right shape, but not quite right, your brain triggers a massive amygdala hijack. It is the Uncanny Valley, a biological alarm bell. It is a defense mechanism against mimics, a way for your brain to say, do not interact with this. The Hachishakusama isn't a spirit. She is a lure, a trap designed to test your perception. She represents the apex predator that hides in plain sight by exploiting the one thing you rely on most, your perception of normalcy. 8 feet tall, that is a height that defies human anatomy, yet stays within the realm of tall. It is just abnormal enough to register as a threat, but normal enough to confuse your conscious mind. Your brain tries to find a frame of reference, but that process takes time. In nature, that delay is the difference between survival and death. You aren't scared of a ghost. You are scared of the violation of the natural order. You are scared because you cannot categorize her, and if you cannot categorize her, you cannot fight her. And if you cannot fight her, you are prey. You are dealing with a biological error that has walked into your life. Once your brain acknowledges that she is other, the trap snaps shut. You are looking at a predator that has evolved to hunt the observer. She is waiting for you to fully grasp the impossibility of your survival. Let's look at the mechanics of the trap. The po-po-po sound is not just noise, it is a frequency that mimics a human distress call. It is the sound of a victim crying for help, distorted as if something is trying to mimic the sound without understanding the emotion. Why would a predator do this? Because the most dangerous hunter is the one that knows how to sound like you. When the legend says she lures children, it is talking about your inner child, the part of you that still wants to believe the world is kind. She is mimicking vulnerability to draw out your instinct to help. But your instinct to help is the very thing she uses to bypass your defenses. She isn't coming through the door with a weapon. She is coming through the gaps in your empathy. She uses your own humanity as a weapon against you. Think about how many times you've heard a sound in the night and wanted to reach out to open the door. That curiosity is the lure. That empathy is the trap. She doesn't need to break your defenses. She needs you to open the door for her. She needs you to be good. But in the wild, being good is often the first step to being dinner. The predator knows your morality better than you do. In that split second, when your heart softens, she strikes. The po-po-po is a calibration of your fear, a measurement of your pulse. You're being baited, not with a hook, but with your own desire to be a savior. She isn't hunting your body, she is hunting your capacity to care. You think you are the hero of your story, but you are only the bait. You think you're helping, but you're just setting the table. And she is waiting patiently for you to serve yourself up on a silver platter. There is a darker layer. The Hachishakusama is not just a predator. She is a cultural virus, a digital parasite. Stories are no longer campfire tales. They are data packets that need to replicate to survive. She doesn't spread because she is true. She spreads because she is mimetically potent. She is designed to infect your brain and stay there. A static noise you cannot tune out. When you share this story, you are feeding the virus. You are giving it power to grow in your subconscious. You are teaching other people's brains how to be afraid, creating the conditions for her existence. The legend functions like a parasite, using your attention as its energy source. Every time you read a thread about her, you are uploading the monster into your own mind. You aren't just hearing a story. You are inviting a logic virus into your thoughts, a glitch you can never patch. This is why you feel the prickle on your neck. You are part of a swarm, a hive mind of terrified people. The story hijacks your thoughts and changes how you interpret the world. You look at the dark differently now because the virus has updated your internal software to fear the shadow. You are no longer an individual. You are a carrier of a contagion. It is a feedback loop of horror where your own imagination fuels the fire. You are helping to build the monster brick by brick. Once the framework is in your head, she will be the only thing you can think about when the lights are low. You are not the observer. You are the host. By trying to warn others, you are infecting them. Your act of resistance is exactly what the monster needs to continue its expansion. You are the architect of your own nightmare, and the nightmare is hungry for more. The most dangerous part is the moment you decide you're in danger. You lock your doors, surround yourself with rituals, and wait for morning. We interpret this as protection, but look at the mechanism. She isolates you. She creates a scenario where you are terrified and desperate for safety. She forces you into a box of your own making, a self-imposed prison. When you are terrified, you lose your capacity for rational thought. You stop observing the environment and start focusing entirely on the perceived threat. And that is exactly when the real predator strikes, because you've stopped looking at the windows. You've stopped watching the vents. You think you're hiding from the monster, but you're actually making yourself the perfect static prey. You are in a freeze state, the third evolutionary response, and it is a death sentence. By focusing on the myth, you have surrendered your awareness. You are thanking the monster for locking the door. While you sit in your dark room, praying to a god that doesn't care, she is sitting just outside the wall, listening to your heartbeat. She is timing her move to the rhythm of your fear. She loves the way your hands shake when you think you've secured the locks. She is patient because she knows that eventually you will have to breathe. And when you do, the silence will break. You have been holding the door shut from the inside the entire time. You want to know how to beat the Hachishakusama? You don't? You are looking for the wrong enemy. You are waiting for an authority or a ritual to solve a biological problem. But there is no one coming to save you. The real Hachishakusama is your own inability to look at the shadows you refuse to acknowledge. If you want to be free, stop looking for the spirit and start looking at the gaps in your own logic. Ask yourself, what are you so afraid to see that you would rather believe in a monster? You have to accept that the world is not designed for your safety. You have to accept that your fear is not a sign of danger, but a sign of awareness. Stop hiding. Start looking. The ghost is a metaphor for the parts of yourself you refuse to confront. The woman in the white dress is the truth of your own fragility. You will never be free until you stare at that truth without blinking. You're not safe, and you never were. The power you're looking for isn't in a salt circle. It is in the willingness to look at the void and say, I see you. You must stop seeking comfort and start seeking the truth, even if the truth is that you are prey. Only then, when you acknowledge the predator, does she lose her hold on you. You stop being the victim and you become the witness. You reclaim the one thing they cannot take from you, your own realization of the truth. There is no shrine that can save you, and no rule of law that stops the things that exist outside the frame of your perception. The dark doesn't care about your theories. The predator is patient, and she has all the time in the world. Tonight, when you turn off the light, you'll remember. You'll hear it. Not the po-po-po of a ghost, but the silence of a house that knows it isn't empty. You aren't being hunted by a woman in a white dress. You are being hunted by the realization that you are not at the top of the food chain. And you never were. The safety you feel is a thin layer of paint on a very old, very dark wall. You have forgotten what it feels like to be prey. Check the corners where you refuse to glance. She doesn't need to knock. She is already inside the room. She is the silence between your heartbeats, counting them down. Sleep well if you can, and if you can't, well, at least you're finally awake. At least you're finally seeing the world for what it truly is, a hunting ground. The fear is the only thing you have left that is real. Let it fill the spaces where your logic used to live. In the end, it's all that's going to be left of you when the po-po-po starts, whispering that you should have never, ever stopped looking. Good night and good luck. The hunt has only just begun.